Lost but Happy Days. A story from the collection entitled Decay Americana by E.S. Wynne. I was always the first one up in those long-ago summer days. I was 18 and loving life, ready to make the summer as long as I could by taking the fall off after 2 years of college. We had the house totally to ourselves, $7,000 painstakingly saved to spend on PlayStation games and supplies, and a seemingly endless stretch of weeks spread out ahead of us. Spencer was always the next one up after me, the lightest sleeper in the group and the guy who always used to sleep wherever he could wedge himself away. Frozen chicken breasts filled the skillet. Lemon juice, a dash of vinegar, a chunk of butter, a liberal dusting of lemon pepper, and by the time the meat had softened to a golden pan-fried yellow, hot and crackling among oily juices, Dylan was up, raising his gigantic linebracker's frame off the beat-up, loaned leather couch in the living room to switch on the computer and warm up the molasses-slow internet for another day of multiplayer intensity that only stopped long enough for a different player to take the plastic lawn chair throne we had there, scraping against the ancient jasper-red tiles. Kevin and Ryan rose later, but both had the tendency to stay up late into the night, buzzed and strung out on gallons of soda and enough frozen pizza to kill a horse. It didn't matter. There was always enough chicken, and when it ran out, I just made more. It was fun to be the master of the house, the custodian, as it were, hovering around and watching while both the television and the computer flared with interactive action for hours on end. Later, the camera would come out, and we'd do something silly, set it on the tripod and dance to some obscure music, or engineer an impromptu 5-minute skit that we'd watch over and over again until the tape started picking up static lines. Occasionally, we'd make the long, sweaty pilgrimages down to the store, load up with more provisions, more soda and chicken, and frozen pizza to keep us fed and happy. Sundown was always a welcome time. The darkness was creepy up there on that old hill, full of ghosts and the sounds of phantoms and jingling collars of pets long since committed to the earth. But the cool it brought with it always breathed new life into our souls, turned our sweat-soaked shirts and over-temp house into a pleasantly chilly earthen vision of heaven. Chicken hit the skillet again. Music blared from borrowed speakers. Volume cranked up so high it put an audible vibration into the old cinder-block walls and echoed out over the surrounding wilderness, helping us forget the metaphysical weirdness that seemed to hover and wait just beyond that house's chalky white interior. Later in the night we'd fall, one by one, to the patient claws of sleep. Usually Dylan or I first, with Spencer creeping off to hide himself away without warning whenever his body decided it was late enough. Only Kevin and Ryan kept the computer and television company into the early morning hours, trying to last out until dawn, sometimes even managing it before they all but collapsed on blanket cots spread haphazard across hard-tiled floors. Those were good days. Before we went our separate ways, before we lost the house, before the money ran out, and the cold curtain of winter fell over everything, heralded a return to school, to life, to the pain of a delayed adulthood. Before the recession, before the student loans, the fights, the careers, the girlfriends. Before we realized that life would never be so fresh, so easy, and so fun, ever again.